Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Trey Gowdy, and it's Sunday Night in America. The U.S. Senate worked through the night passing its version of a budget resolution. The Senate plan enhances border security and rebuilds our military and empowers energy independence. Tax relief will come later this year. The House is taking a different approach, trying to fit everything into one bill. Their resolution is drafted and out of committee, but it's unclear whether the House GOP can coalesce to pass its iteration of a budget blueprint. Texas Senator John Cornyn is on Senate budget, and he joins us now. Welcome, Senator. Thank you for being with us. Lots of things happening at once. A budget resolution, the debt ceiling, keeping government funded. How do you see this all playing out?
Well, it may not be pretty, but we will get all of those things done. We don't have any choice. As you said, we passed a Senate budget resolution, but as you know, any resolution that comes out of the Senate has to be married up with the House, so eventually we'll have to get on the same page. Speaker Johnson has a very thin margin, as you know, and I think he's got the heavier lift. But it's going to be a challenge, but we don't have any choice but to deal with these issues. And we particularly are not going to allow a multi-trillion-dollar tax increase on 62% of American taxpayers, which would happen if we did not extend the expiring tax provisions.
To your point, Senator, Chairman Graham and you and other members of Senate budget, you're not forgetting about tax cuts. I mean, y'all plan on addressing that before the cuts expire, but it was important to get the border and defense and energy over the finish line now.
That's right. Tom Homan, the border czar appointed by President Trump, who's doing a very good job enforcing the law, something we haven't seen for a long time in Washington, D.C. And they're running out of money. They're going to need more money for detention space, more money for trained officers to be able to do the job of enforcing the laws that Congress has passed and a previous president has signed into law, but President Biden refused to enforce.
All right, the Senate, to those of us watching, the Senate has managed to pass a budget blueprint, even while confirming scores of cabinet officials. I mean, y'all work through the night, you're working on weekends. The House seems to be moving at a slower pace. I mean, they don't have to handle confirmations, y'all do. So why the difference in the pace?
Well, as you know, the Senate's in the personnel business. We have the responsibility under the Constitution to provide what's known as advice and consent. And we've made a priority because President Trump needs his team in place to confirm as many of his nominees as can be moved through the committee. I think we're up to about 19 now. And as you know, the key national security, law enforcement agency heads have now been confirmed, and we'll move on to some of the undersecretaries and some of the other confirmations. But this was really job one, and President Trump was, I know, frustrated, and understandably so, at the slow pace of his cabinet confirmations the first time he was in office. So he made this a priority, and we made it a priority and got it done.
I have heard some of your colleagues say, let's go the House route. Let's do one big, beautiful bill. The one thing all of those senators have in common is that not a one of them served in the House. It is a very thin margin, as you noted, and it can be a dysfunctional family. So if they're waiting on the House, it could be a very long wait.
Well, that's all very true, and we're all very aware of the thin margin that the Speaker has, but we're also aware of the fact that President Trump has an uncanny ability to bring people around when he wants to. And I'm proud of Budget Committee Chairman Jody Arrington and the House Budget Committee for passing the big, beautiful bill that does include all the elements that ultimately we want to get to in the Senate. But we figured it would be good to have a Plan B in the Senate, and if they are unable to get there, at least initially, that we have at least the border and national security and energy addressed. But we know we're going to have more work to do to deal with the expiring tax provisions and other things like cuts in some of the spending, which is imperative we do. We're now paying more interest on the national debt than we are on defense, and that's an unsustainable situation in a much more dangerous world than we've seen in a long time.
Well, Senator, y'all passed your blueprint. You have done, I think, in record time confirmations. I'm going to let you go get some rest. I mean, Lindsey Graham is not used to staying up all night. He is not used to working
That's
weekends.
true.
So I'm going to let you go get some rest. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday night.